Sayin, the show that's opinionated, thought-provoking, and hopefully inspiring. One thing that helps us inspire us a little bit is our featured drink of the day. Our today's beverage is red wine seltzer infused with oranges. Very easy. I call it the shortcut sangria. So you have to
and healthy.
Yeah, and it's healthy.
Red wine,
healthy.
And oranges.
vitamin C.
Yeah,
Vitamin C.
Splash a slice of sunshine.
Red wine.
Yes.
It's
Right.
yummy.
Oh, it's not sweet at all.
No,
it's
I
actually.
don't like sweet
yeah.
things
Oh, I
really.
love it.
Yeah.
It's like a
Either.
spritzer, kind of.
And I
It is
love,
a red wine spritzer.
I love shortcuts for cooking. You know,
Yeah.
call me Sandra Lee. I don't know, but you know, if you have people coming over and you want something festive, and you only have one bottle of wine and a lot of people, you grab the seltzer water. You slice up an orange.
brilliant.
Usually we have an orange in the refrigerator, and there you go.
You're good.
And infuse it together for a couple of hours, and you got a nice sangria shortcut.
Oh,
sangria.
It is
That's
nice.
good.
It's a nice, refreshing
Yes,
beverage.
absolutely. Speaking of refreshing, we had interviewed Ann Nyberg a while back, and her book just came out in stores, so I wanted to plug her, because we told her a while back that we would let her know. And I'm telling you, have anybody read it?
I've read it.
If you've read
Darling.
it, it's wonderful.
How about inspiring?
It's very inspiring, and what I like about it, I don't know, maybe because we're similar ages, I really can relate to her upbringing of using the driveway to play, red light, green light,
Yeah,
hopscotch,
yeah.
and staying outdoors until it got dark and we had to get dragged into the house, And it's really a book of beautiful conversations, and I think one of the things that I got out of it is we have lost in some respect that art of conversation.
Absolutely.
And if this doesn't inspire you to really learn the stories of people around you, but
I
I love
often-
her old-fashioned values.
I often think, how we are able to talk about when we were kids playing red light, green light, Red Rover, come over, all of that. What are our kids going to talk about? How many times they texted their friends? I don't, I just feel like there's no memories being made.
Yeah.
I totally agree
Reading
with
this
you.
is very reminiscent of time gone by.
Yeah.
When you when you would sit down when you were younger and your grandparents would talk about the good old days. And Anne is I think we're all within the same couple of ages.
But I
of
mean,
Anne,
Anne's only in her 50s.
Yeah,
It's
she's not that long
it's not
ago.
like she's
Yeah.
a 90-year-old woman. But
no,
such
not
a
at all. But
story
it's
power.
just so
yeah.
spot on. And yeah.
And I should mention that her book is called Slices of Life, A Storyteller's Diary. Ann Nyberg. Of course, many of us in Connecticut know her as
The civility chapter's the best.
newscaster in New York. I mean, in Connecticut.
Well, you were
Holiday.
talking about not having personal stories to tell.
Well, yeah.
On the news this morning, they were talking about virtual field trips. Virtual field trips where, like Google and some of these other
Oh my
companies.
gosh, I saw that. I saw an app for this.
It's crazy.
Like what?
So
you
this,
log in and travel where you want to
the
go?
teacher can take the students in the classroom to somewhere. So you're
I
gonna
can see that
you're
both
gonna get
sides,
videos.
but-
You're gonna get
I mean, on
little
one hand, they
things
see
that.
places, but it's not the same as
It's
if
not
you're
a field
studying
trip.
Brazil,
But in a
you
school
can travel to
setting,
you
Brazil
can-
online.
yes,
Like
yes.
that I can see.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're
school
not
settings,
realistically
right.
going to Brazil, but I'm hoping you're not going like the Peabody Museum on an app. Yeah.
But there is an app where
It's
you can travel the
terrible.
world, and I was just investigating it the other day.
Yeah, if you're gonna
Okay.
travel-
In school is one thing.
We
but-
do it in the Center for the Clients. We call it armchair travel. Most of our
Yeah,
elder
you're right.
adults
I
can't
did
do
Well,
it.
if they
so-
can't travel,
Well,
that's
that's
one
a different
thing.
story.
But
Yeah.
why wouldn't you want to travel if you're physically able to and you can afford to? Why
Right.
wouldn't you? Why would you want to
Right.
sit on a laptop and
Right.
travel?
Right. And my whole
But
thing.
that's
Right.
where they're raised on this
Budget
now.
cutting.
They're
But I mean,
raised on it.
as you guys know, my whole philosophy really in life is I don't want any more stuff in my house. I'm the
Yeah.
organizer anyways,
Yeah.
but I want to make memories. I want experiences. And I told my kids, I would rather, crank up my credit card, to its capacity, but have an experience that we can share forever. And speaking of Anne's book, in Old-Fashioned Values, is there something from your past that you stay true to, like any little old-fashioned value? Like
Sunday dinner.
Sunday
I
dinner
love
is
when my
great.
family
That's
we get
nice.
together. My mom, my sister, and the kids, and we make sure it's an elaborate dinner. A big chicken and
you
vegetables.
talk,
Yeah,
right?
we
Yeah, you
all sit
talk.
around. But actually, we still have dinner every night. Make
We
sure
do.
my husband and
That's
I and
great.
What
Jackson
we
all
do
sit
is
together.
when
That's
we're
good.
sitting around the table, we do say grace before.
That's
We
nice
say the
too.
same thing I did when I was a kid, and I
What'd
taught
you
my
say?
kids to do it. Bless us,
Yep.
the Lord, and these our gifts.
Oh, yeah.
And we hold hands and we do that, and it's like the one moment of the day we're all actually touching each other, not
Together.
running or looking at phones or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
And it's just, slows us down a little bit. just a teeny
Absolutely.
It
bit.
does.
Absolutely.
Well, for me, everything's about food. So so we have
But see, I
Matthew,
don't wanna be.
who's our production assistant here, but we have very specific things we do each time of the year. And our thing in the fall is we all go apple picking together. My aunt, my sister, and I, and our families. And then afterwards, we get together and we have a meal of a roast, and it's like the same thing. And then we bake
Nice
pies
tradition.
and all this kind of stuff, and that's what we do. We unfortunately didn't do the whole thing this year, but we've got to do that. But those, and then we go pumpkin picking next month. And we do like these are the things, and then thanks Easter we make the ham pies, and but it's not the food is great. It's the process of doing it. You know,
Yeah.
of course we're fighting and
togetherness,
everything.
It's
Yeah.
really,
Tradition.
it's really
We're
important
fighting,
to
we're
hold
playing,
on
we're
to
fighting.
tradition,
Right.
you know, whether it's
And,
your culture
it's
or
very
whatnot.
hard to do it
Yeah.
because it's so easy to say
Everybody's
no.
running around.
And
Busy.
life is just so busy.
Yeah.
And how many times are you sitting down with your kids at the dinner table when one has to go running over to this practice and then
Right.
to that one, then they're off to
Right.
CCD, and then they're over here.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy moly.
Right. And there's
Yeah.
some basic values that I really instill in my kids. Like even the simple thing of writing a handwritten thank you note. My kids have to do that. I know it's the world of send an email, thanks, you know, but just to send an actual personally written thank you note for gifts is one thing I think it's really important.
Yeah. We try and do the old-fashioned chores. You know, nowadays kids feel they're so entitled that they can get money given to them.
Do you have a chore chart?
We actually do. We have a modified version on the refrigerator, and you know, Levi has to do his chores, and he doesn't get privileges or any other type of tangible item unless he does his chores. And
Right.
nowadays, I think too many parents have gone away from having their kids do chores. You know,
Yeah. And
they're not around
yeah.
that much,
And
but then
we're-
kids are
yeah.
pulled in so many different directions.
And we're
that-
creating a world of entitled.
right. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get my kids to do chores, but unless I have a meltdown and scream at the top of my lungs, it's not
Oh,
happening.
you're not supposed to do that?
Really? I mean, realistically speaking.
Teenagers who do that?
Yeah.
Then we need to send our kids to Stephanie's house then.
Yeah.
There you go.
I do the vampire mind scramble. I just do some like really Southern psycho.
But she has this other side.
Well, the best
Scramble,
thing is
yeah.
with little
Spice.
ones, my little ones, they're 4 and almost 2, they want to help, right? Well, unfortunately, we
Oh,
can't.
yeah.
So we
Oh,
have to
sure,
pretend.
that age,
So I got the
they're
ones that
teenagers.
like want to vacuum and they want to do,
Yeah.
I mean, but they,
Yeah.
you know, so they
I
have the little
remember
kid
that.
vacuums and
I
everything.
remember those days. I do. Yes.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
Not me, not me.
So why can't we
When
reverse
does that
somehow?
change? Because my 4-year-old wants to do it too now.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Well,
get
you know,
shovel
I
and-
did read once, a long time ago, a child psychologist has written this wonderful article, and I find it so true because my kids were just going into that age where he said that it was called the perfect age of a child. And the perfect ages of a child is from 6 to 8. And when I read the article, he really backed it up. At 6 to 8 is exactly, you aren't quite so tied to mother's,
Yeah.
you know, apron strings, 5 and under. You want to start proving that you can do this and look at this. You still love your mommy and daddy. You still love your teachers. And then
you're a little more independent.
around 9 starts with the eye rolling.
Yes.
And okay, I'm starting to know a little more than my parents.
It's true. I used to say 5 to 7,
Yeah, no, they
but
say,
that's true.
But
6
they
to,
say
yeah.
6 to 8, and then again at 30. When they start realizing, you know what,
Mom was right.
He's right.
Yeah.
You know what I
Ways
tell my
to go,
son, because
Erica.
he tells me I don't know what I'm doing, you know. I said, Joe, mommy's going to get really smart in about 5 years from now. You're going to look and go, wow, how did she get so smart, you know?
She's talking
Anyways.
about being smart. My mom, this is a family value thing, she used to always say, good, better, best. Never let it rest until the good is better and the better best. And my sister and I
Love
would
that.
cringe because it was always nothing's ever good enough, okay? But as we became adults and realized what she was really trying to tell us was be the best you could be.
Absolutely.
I love
Good,
that.
better, best.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I
love
love
Never
that.
let it
that's
rest.
how they used to teach you
Yeah.
the words
Yeah.
in school.
We can put it up on our Facebook page.
Oh, I like that. Good.
We're going to leave it for a moment. We're going to come back with a great guest. Don't go away. Hey, welcome back. I'm so proud to introduce our guest today, Erica Tannen. Many know Erica as the person behind the E-List. And the E-List is It's a weekly newsletter online, and I remember talking to you when it was like 3,000 subscribers, and then maybe a few months later or a year later, it was like 5,000. I'm like, wow, you have 5,000 subscribers. What is it up to now, Erica?
We're at 16,000.
That is
Into
so fantastic.
Year 8. Our 8th anniversary is actually this month, October.
So why don't you share with our viewers exactly what the E-List is? Because I know a lot of the Shoreline knows what it is,
Sure.
but people that are watching.
I started the E-List after I got out of the fashion industry. I took a couple of years off. I was in the fashion industry my whole life and actually had a store in Guilford for a while and recognized that there was an opportunity for new media on the Shoreline. I think all of us who had stores at that time were advertising in all the small newspapers. It was cumbersome and very expensive. And even though this was an exciting idea, starting an online newsletter, it was really a business plan. I thought there was a niche for this. And it was definitely at the advent of a lot of newsletters. I think I got in sort of in the hyper-local space early, but there was a lot going on nationally. And I thought, if I can attract the customers who had shopped in my stores, then I may be able to gain enough traction to finally attract advertisers to support the newsletter. And I stuck with it long enough. It took me a really long time, a lot longer than I thought, to make any money out of it.
Right.
But it's actually worked out great, and I love
And
it.
the newsletter really is all about events, upcoming happenings, maybe sales in stores.
I try to keep it very hyper-local. I try to support local business. It's not entirely about what's going on locally, but mainly, I mean, we all do shop a little bit online, so I definitely include some national resources. But overall, the emphasis is hyper-local, and I think that's why women read it. And I also, from the very beginning, I didn't want to, I know we all lead very busy lives, and I didn't want to inundate my reader. So I've been very committed to not publishing too much, and so that hopefully the reader has something to look forward to once a week. And I gear the content to what she's after. My background in fashion, believe it or not, was mainly data-driven and analysis. And what I do with the E-List is I really analyze that data and see what she's reading and give her more of what she wants.
Yeah, it's
So you
helpful
can
as an
tell
advertiser,
what
yeah.
people read
Yes,
by
you can tell
what they
yes,
click
you can
on?
tell what they click on.
So is it mostly retail or is it other types of businesses? Like how
I
is
try
it?
to really merchandise it the way you'd merchandise a store.
Okay.
It's so funny because it's such different parts of my life, but they really mirror each other. I try to, for example, this week it's organizing. Last week it was art and museums. I try to really merchandise the topics so that it's not all shopping or all charitable giving. It's a real lifestyle.
It's
A
really
real
a
lifestyle
resource.
thing.
Your,
Yeah.
your website is even, speaking as a consumer, and I can also speak to the retailer part of it, but it's a resource. If you're going to dinner, there's the Madison gift or town guide for Madison, Guilford, Branford. They've developed the website. You can look back at old lists if you're like, didn't she recommend that there was a
That's why we
bag
did the
online?"
town guide, so that people
So
could look
it's
back.
huge. I use it as a resource, and then I also advertise it for the store. And when you started the E-List, you didn't really show pictures of yourself.
It's so funny because I never show pictures of
No,
myself.
and now you do.
And I should have stuck with that.
No. But it was fun for years. People
Yeah.
thought, that I was, and then people
It
wanted to
was
meet with
you.
me. And they're
The
like,
other
you're the
Erica.
Erica from the E-List. And I'm like, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not. I'm sorry. And they're
From
like,
Ella, where's she from?
like I literally met with someone and they were disappointed. I'm like, well, I guess I'll treat you for lunch. Like I felt bad. I'll hook you
wrong
up with Erica
person.
Tannen.
And it's funny because Erica, you keep referring to hyper-local, and local, just for our viewers, is basically the Connecticut shoreline, the
Right,
eastern shoreline.
yes.
But I think it's interesting because so much of Connecticut, or other towns that might be watching this show, come to the shoreline for beaches or for dinners or, the great restaurants and whatnot. So it's a great source, I think, for the entire state. Really,
The
to
readers
look at.
that I have who don't live here, I have tons in Florida, I have tons in New York who make this their summer home, and they sort of stay abreast of what's going on. But interestingly, when you speak about food, I always forget, food is our most read stuff,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. See,
And
I'm
it's
telling you
hard-
about the
always,
food.
always.
It's always about
And
food.
part of the reason I did the town guides is because I personally got so many emails like, you wrote about this restaurant in Mystic, And so I'm answering all of these individually, and I'm sort of like, this is a little bit too
much
cumbersome.
time.
So you must need some food critics, don't you think?
I actually now have one because it was a little bit too much for me eating all that stuff all the time. So I have somebody
someone would be really good.
Yeah.
I think you have a volunteer.
No,
I'll volunteer.
And aside from the retailers and publicizing their, the great stores and restaurants that we have, you also talk about events, and you actually you do some event planning, right? Don't you
We do some
like
really
shopping
fun
strolls
events,
and whatnot?
yeah. Because before, when I was really behind the scenes, my picture wasn't on it. It was really fun for me to meet my readers, and I really started it as sort of an online community. But it wasn't so much of a community, it was me blabbing at them.
Right.
So I started doing these girls' nights out in various towns on the shoreline, I think right at the beginning. I think we've been doing them for 6 or 7 years. And we all get together, I negotiate discounts with all the stores in town. So it's sort of like, it's a wonderful, feel good,
It is
shop
amazing.
local,
Great
everyone's
event.
happy.
Yep.
We
It
drink
is
half-price
awesome.
wine. We do them all year round. I usually do 2 in the fall and 2 in the summer, 2 in the spring. And we try to cover the towns, and it's just, it's a wonderful event. And then we do the Insane and Sidewalk Sale, which has been a huge thing. Last year we had 1,500 people. We house 25
In
retailers.
different towns, you do different events, right? Or is this- or
The
is it
Girls'
inside?
Nights Out I do in all different towns. We
Okay.
sort of invade the town. We meet at a
That's-
restaurant and we invade
retailers
the
must
town.
love
They
you.
love it. Yeah, it's really great.
So who's the fall? Do you have fall lined up yet?
Fall, we're doing Essex in November and Guilford in December.
Oh,
and then
all right.
Madison
We
in-
do that
Madison
every
in
every
May.
fall,
Every fall,
every-
every
You're
Yeah.
letting me know about that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
So I want to get on the Guilford list.
so you do this. Your daughter. We've gotten to know a little bit about your daughter. Sorry,
I write about her a lot.
Bobby's not going to be. Yeah, I'm not happy about that. Did she have her own blog now? Is she doing the
No, but
following
she
in mom's
was. It was
footsteps?
so funny because when she went off to college, there was something sort of like the E-list for college girls, and she was writing for it when she first started,
that's
which is
fantastic. That's
hilarious
very
because she was made. She hasn't loved. Although I do think she's sort of like being the daughter of because
Yeah.
everyone knows her. I write about her all the time. I only have one. Who else am I going to write about?
How old is she now?
She's 20, and I'm an empty nester, so it's definitely.
Where's she in
Yeah.
school? How far away?
She's an American in D.C.
Oh, that's too
It's
bad.
far. It's far.
And Erica, I know something you were talking about earlier is I think a secret that all of us women really need to do is learn to say no, because we're all busy. And I think that's been a little trick that you've used.
Well, I think for me, I'm a yes girl. I say
Right.
yes to everything. I say
it's a
yes to
lesson you're
every
constantly
volunteer opportunity. I did it for years. And then with the E-list, as it grew bigger and bigger and bigger, I realized you really have to have limits. And it's very difficult for women to say no. We're just like, more, bring it on.
Right.
I'm not busy enough.
Right.
And so I think one thing that I've learned at middle age is that you have to save yourself a little bit,
Yes.
and saying no sometimes is a lot better than showing up and doing a half-hearted job.
I agree.
And I'd rather just give my all and do it right than just feel like, I
Yeah.
can't do it.
It's interesting because you're so right about women because men have no problem saying no.
No
Like, and
problem.
I've worked mostly in my professional career has been with men, and I would find that I'd be like, I'll do it. I'm like, why the heck am I doing all this stuff?
Right.
They have
You know what I mean?
boundaries.
Right.
They do.
Yeah, I know.
It's unbelievable.
And even I think emotions get in the way, even as you were saying before, previous to the show, that even emotions get in the way as far as business women when negotiating. It's like you have to stay in your corner.
I love
think
that
is your
tip. I'm going
words.
to get that tattooed
Yeah.
right here
You gotta
because I
stay
knocked
in your
it. I
corner,
put emotion
right.
all the time. I have to
Right.
stop
And I think, and also something Ann Nyberg has always alluded to is stop complaining, because I know you believe the same thing. Stop complaining. We're all busy.
Just do it.
Get your priorities together and just do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
And do the best job you can.
Great lessons.
Thank
What
you,
I
Erica.
Thank you
love
so
about
much.
what she's doing is that you're doing something you really enjoy and you figured out how to make money at it. That's fabulous.
Took a while.
But
No,
it was
but
great
that's
to do.
good.
Yeah. And the use of
yeah.
social media, I think, is indicative of what's happening in today's job market, too. But anyways, thank you so much,
Thank
Erica.
you.
It was great.
Such
We'll
a
be
pleasure
right
to
back.
be here. Thank you.
Hey, and welcome. welcome back. As you can see, we are enjoying another little. We like to eat on this show, don't we? We like to eat
Eat and drink, yes.
We have to thank our today's food sponsor is La Rotisseria in Guilford, actually right near your office, Patty, right?
Right downstairs, which is a good thing
Yeah.
and a bad thing.
I'm telling you, I have to thank Debbie and Antonio Greco. They are the amazing owners of this gourmet deli catering company.
Very good.
What we're eating right now is one of their best sellers. It's a vegetable terrine, and I don't know if you can see it here. It's
Really good.
It's almost like vegetable gluten-free
Like lasagna.
lasagna.
Yeah.
I was gonna
made
say
with-
sort of like lasagna,
Yeah,
yep.
made with eggplant as opposed to any kind of
Excellent.
pasta.
Excellent.
And it's layered as such that you
And
don't.
it's layered as
Yeah,
such.
you don't know that there's not a meat. It's got enough
all
volume.
veggies.
Yeah, but that
It's
you
so
would.
good.
Yeah,
There's
you would think
squash.
there's meat in there.
It's
Really
one of their
good.
best sellers, and as Debbie was saying, sometimes she'll take a piece of the vegetable terrine and chop it up into pasta. Have a quick lunch. But it's a great side dish. It's a great almost like a grill dish.
that's-
but-
Well, you know what's fun from there? The kids from the high school get out, and they used to come over to the store right afterwards. Their son Michael too. So they have a 2:40 special. 2:40 p.m. special, and everybody goes there. They go for the 2:40 special. It's a sandwich with bacon and turkey, and oh my God, it's
Yum.
delicious.
Oh, it's actually
That sounds
called.
great.
It's the 2:40
special.
special.
That's what they call it.
Yeah, that's it after your son.
That is brilliant.
Yeah,
Very
I have to get in there more often because really it is the best. Every time I go there, I'm like, oh my gosh, why don't I come here more often?
Yeah.
Because it is such great
And they have
food.
prepared food, so you can have stuff
And
home.
that's
Right.
the
That's
whole
the
thing.
yeah,
And,
dinners to go.
And Antonio, he grew up in Italy and really modeled this after the fresh markets in Italy where you could actually go and, have a fresh homemade dinner and go home and just heat it up.
And they bring, a lot of times, depending on the time of year, they bring over olive oil, and you bring in your old wine bottles and you fill them up and cork them with
Oh,
the
yeah,
fresh olive
with
oil,
the-
because the region he's from, because I know this because I'm in there all the time, the region he's from is where a lot of these olive trees are.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But and
Fantastic.
and not only just I did a little sweet and savory for everybody today, because that really represents their place. It's not just the savory and the delicious meats and salads that they have, which are to die for, but they're also very well known for their cupcakes. So
I think there was a reason you put them in front of
They
those or
have,
not.
they have won
cupcakes.
all
No.
kinds of awards for these
They
cupcakes.
have
And
one. I think
the
Connecticut
problem,
Magazine too.
and the problem I have is we're down there and awful.
Yeah.
But the interesting, there's red velvet.
velvet.
Yeah, she gave us a little taste
Yep.
of
Yep.
everything.
Oh,
There's the
they're
red velvet.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And
They're just
the interesting
Yep.
thing about I think we need more napkins. The interesting thing about it is
This one.
I asked. I think we have. Let's see, chocolate
are
sea
they?
salt caramel, chocolate raspberry, apple caramel, coconut,
In the red
and
velvet.
red velvet.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, it's not just the topping. This is
All the way in
like
through it?
chocolate sea salt all the way through. I
Not
asked
only
Debbie.
that, the
that's
cupcakes
what's in it.
are huge.
Yeah, they're.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
they're
I
so
can't imagine.
good.
I mean, this is half,
There's-
and I
who
can't imagine eating a whole
wanted
one.
that?
Take the coconut.
The coconut.
Oh, she's got it.
Okay.
And
Do you want the
I
sea
said
salt
to
caramel?
Debbie
Coconut
this
or the
morning,
These are good.
I said, Debbie, what flavor is the cake with the coconut?
look how
She
it goes down the
no,
way.
it's
That's
coconut
gorgeous.
all the
Look
way
how
through.
gorgeous that is.
That's how we bake it.
That's beautiful.
I want to do a
So
cashmere
through.
cupcake
That's
event, so
very
now I
cool.
think I found where my cupcakes are going.
Oh, without a doubt, these are amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to try? Oh, you
I'm
got
doing the
one.
red
Okay.
velvet. Yeah, I'm gonna stick
It's
to what I
not
know
that
and
like
love.
yucky sugary sweet either, because I don't like that.
No, actually, the frosting is
very
not as
flavorful.
sweet as most frostings are.
What's that
And this is apple caramel. You gotta try it. It's
delicious.
I know every
Passing out
flavor in this place.
What's your favorite?
I love coconut. I love the chocolate raspberry. I love the apple. I like them all.
Chocolate all over my face.
No, you look
This
great.
is so good. Debbie and Antonio Greco,
was so
thank you
sweet.
so much.
And
Thank
not
you.
only
Thank you.
that, they're big givers back to the community. They're so
they are.
supportive of the high school and the arts and the orchestra and all that stuff. So they're really
great.
local people who
They
really
do-
give back.
And they do a lot of catering, so if you have any upcoming events, they're at 500 Village Walk in Guilford, and you can go to guilfordtakeout.com. Awesome place, you really, really should. And for busy people, we were just talking about with
Yes.
Erica, we're
Yeah.
all busy. What a great thing to get a homemade meal on your table if you really just don't have the time.
Oh, you walk
Or just
right in,
a
just
cupcake.
pull it right up the
Yeah.
tray, right up
So
the
talk about
They have-
givers. How about this boat?
Yeah, speaking of the
I
Something
love
else?
him.
Yes.
I like him.
Amazing.
It's he's my pope. I love him.
My Pope. I don't
He's
know.
my Pope. No, I'm keeping him. I'm keeping him. You know, it was really funny. When Pope Francis just came to New York, and recently to the U.S. and all that. Back in the '80s, I was fortunate enough to be in the presence of Pope John Paul II. And I have to tell you, when you're in this presence, there is an overwhelming feeling of holiness. It's just incredible. And I see this Pope Francis, to be of the same category as Pope John Paul, which was a hard act to follow. You know, and he was already canonized a saint, which is amazing. And so the amount of people that came out to see him was really overwhelming.
I think he was actually legitimately shocked of the warm reception.
Yeah.
And I too, I was at a papal blessing in Rome as well in the 80s. And this really brings back those same kind of feelings. He was just wonderful.
I loved how he would stop the motorcade and like the car was rolling and he'd open the door to get out. I'm sure the driver was like, you're gonna get hurt. Like,
What about all the babies he kissed?
The baby and the Pope.
Maybe he's going to run for office. But maybe he should be the one running.
And he said, "Thank you for your sense of humor." That was
Okay,
fantastic.
maybe this isn't the best analogy, but let me just say this. Back in the 70s, when the Godfather came out, everybody wanted to be Italian, right? So now everybody wants to be Catholic. So this could be the new
Catholic
And
Republic.
very little crime going on when he was there. So
Yeah.
You can hope.
But yes, we're going to continue. I'm feeling blessed for our food.
Yes.
But I just want to thank our guest today, Erica Tannen, owner of and publisher of the E-List, was fantastic. Some of our takeaways, learn to say no. We're all busy. And learn to prioritize and just go and do it already. Stop complaining. And I think that's our biggest takeaway. And also for Debbie and Antonio Greco for the wonderful spread that you provided from La Rotisseria in Guilford. So that's it. We're going to continue enjoying. Until next time, thank you so much.
See you later.
Just saying.
Just saying.